I agree with the Motor Trend retro review on this car from 1982. A tilt wheel would have been nice. Alright folks, welcome back to the garage. Alright, so today we're going to go ahead and start off our part 3 in our sliding roof maintenance series by inspecting the motor assembly, and wanted to see what was going on with this thing, if anything. And so here is the clutch adjustment nut. Alright, and we had removed that, and as you recall, we had removed the back cover because we couldn't get the cable assembly out of the motor, so we had to pull the gears out. So once you take this nut off, the gear assembly simply slides out this way, and the nut tightens up on this, I guess I'm going to call it a spacer, and this back here, this part right here is a clutch material, I'm assuming. When you tighten this guy down, it will press in on that. You can feel, you can see this clutch material slip against that gear right there. So I'm going to put some pressure on it and then turn it, kind of like, you can see where it slips like that. In my opinion, I don't know that for a fact, but that's the way I think it works. Regardless, I just wanted to inspect the gears and see what we could see here. I really don't see a problem with this gear set at all. I went through and looked at every tooth on this large gear here. I guess you'd call it a ring. It's not really a ring gear, but kind of similar, I guess. So this guy sits in here, and this worm gear on the motor works on the larger gear, and then the smaller gear works against the worm gear on the cable itself. There's a worm gear that's kind of wound around the cable, and it slips past it, so when it turns, it makes the cable go back and forth like that. I don't see any problems with this gear assembly here. It was well lubricated. I'm not sure what kind of grease this was. I think the part number for the Mercedes grease is in the service manual, so we'll see if we can find some of that or something similar, and we'll probably just clean that grease out of there and re-lubricate it whenever we decide to reassemble everything. Let's take a look at the this worm gear here in the motor assembly. I am really not seeing an issue. The only slight issue I can see is that this, I guess you call it a tooth really, this section down here on the end and this one up here, this is where the ring gears start, but they're not flat. If you twist this around, you'll see there's what appears to be some wear here. I'm not sure if it's a wear or if it's just marks left over from the production process or what, but the only ones that are flat are these center ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think really those are the only ones that matter. So if you place the gear set in there, the only ones that sync up are 1, 2, 3. Are the center ones. The ones on the end, they don't really touch this big gear at all. So you know what? They just don't matter. So the ones that are intact and the ones that look good are the ones that matter. So in my mind, the inside of this motor, it looks good to me. And the motor was working. What I think our problem is one of two things. Either we've got some gummed up grease in the tube that the cable slides in and out of, or we've got a tube running through the body of the car that is messed up or bent in some fashion. So let's hope it's number one, and all we need to do is remove the cable, clean up the worm gear on the cable, clean out the old grease inside the tube, and I think that's probably going to be our option. So I tell you what, next up, let's go ahead and see if we can't remove that cable from the tube assembly inside the car. All right, the next thing we're going to do is remove the cable assembly from the car. Knock on steel. Let's hope this goes well. Definitely a hang up there. I believe we're going to be okay. I agree with the Motor Trend retro review on this car from 1982. A tilt wheel would have been nice. Oh, look at that. That's kind of nice. Look at that. These spacers. Alright, it's easing up now. Yep, it's easing up. Trying not to get grease on everything. Alright. There we go. Finally, we're out of there. Look at that, folks. Here comes the worm gear portion. Now, I'm not entirely sure why that's all, why that was so difficult, but we're going to find out. It may be just something as simple as spraying brake clean down through the tube and cleaning it out, but I don't know. Let's get this thing over to the bench and let's take a look at it. All right, there's the end of it, and that's where that clip goes on the end to mate it up with that tube. Basically, that's just a metal rod or metal tube, and the cable inside it is crimped right here. And there is a metal bushing to center the cable within the tube. And that's a substantial cable. I mean, that's pretty heavy. That's like probably an SAE. That looks like it's 3/16 to me. So you have a variety of plastic spacers of varying sizes to, I'm assuming, to accommodate flexibility through the tube. And these spacers, to me, look okay. They appear to be fine. Picked up some debris off my workbench. And so I'm just kind of looking through this thing to see, you know, where the problem areas are, if I find any. I'm thinking that there's some gummed up grease inside the tube, to be honest with you. And you know, it was pretty tough there for a little while to pull that thing out of there. You know, I don't want there to be any kinks in the tube, unless of course I caused them during the rust repair on the rear deck. I suppose that might be a possibility. I don't recall that. I wasn't anywhere near this thing. I didn't touch it. I don't even remember seeing this at all. It's sort of like out of sight, out of mind, you know what I'm saying? I see a little bit of old dirty grease in there and some debris. There's some red marks right there. What's that red from? That's interesting. Why is that red? Loctite is red. You don't suppose somebody put Loctite in there, do you? But this worm gear is readily affixed to this cable. So this worm gear has a little hat on the end of it. It's twisted up on the cable so that the cable can't poke out the end of the worm gear that way. I suppose the cable could be pulled back that way. No, it couldn't. Nope, it can't, because there is a pressed on sleeve right here to prevent that from happening. So this worm gear is stationary on this cable. It's got a crimped connection there, and it has a sort of a crimped or hat. The end of the worm gear is kind of wrapped around the cable, so that thing can't move. So this assembly looks good to me, other than, you know, we'll probably remove the old grease and we'll put new grease on it when we reinstall it. All right, so the next thing for us is to clean out that tube on the car and see if we can remedy our problem. I'm still thinking that we have gunked up old grease down that tube. So I'm not sure how we're going to do that yet. Pipe cleaners, maybe? I don't know. I don't want to put anything down in there I can't get back out, that's for sure. So maybe just some good old brake clean. I don't know. We'll figure it out, and we'll be back here just shortly. All right, this may seem a little controversial, but you know, you'll get over it in time. I'm making an assumption that says the tube from here all the way back to there is in one piece. I guess we'll find out whether it is or not, won't we? So in the trunk, I've got a piece of 1/2-inch PEX plumbing pipe stuck over the end of this tube, and it goes into a jar. I'm going to spray just a smidgen of brake clean into the tube, and then I'm going to follow it up with a blast of air. Not much, just a small amount, just as an experiment, and we'll just, let's just see what happens. When you're doing something like this, you need to make sure that you're using extremely clean, lint-free cloths when you're doing this kind of work. There we go. Alright, I got some plastic over my seats too, so I think we're going to be good to go. I'm going to do a quick shot followed by a blast of air. And see if I can manipulate my equipment into the right orientation. Yep, that's about right. That brake clean, it shoots out really fast, right? I mean, even though the tube, let's say the tube was perfectly open, you're still going to get a back splash because it'll just fill up the immediate area. Anyway, so I got a little splash back, but not a whole lot, and I think we're protected. So let's go see what's in the jar. All right, that is what is in the jar. Some rather black looking stuff there. The jar wasn't clean, by the way, but that black stuff is what came out of the tube. So, I think I'm going to try this 2 or 3 more times, and then we're going to try to find some sort of long, flexible brush to try to clean out the rest of the goop. All right, so that's the third go around right there. I don't know if you could see that or not, but really, I think most of that is what was already in the jar. This is actually pretty clear if I look down in the jar. It's, I think, whatever was in there that was loose, we've blown it out with the brake clean and the air. Of course, that's a pure guesswork. So up next, I think I'm going to find some kind of a brush and see if I can't clean it out the rest of the way. All right, just an example of how I'm going about cleaning out this long tube for the sliding roof. The tube goes straight back through the center of the car. It stops just short of the back glass and takes a 90-degree turn and goes to the right, and then goes into the C-pillar, takes a turn to the left and then down, and then goes into the trunk. So you've got 2 fairly sharp turns to contend with. So I got my Super Clean on stream, and we put the little nozzle up in the hole. There we go. That's actually quite a bit of cleaner down in there. 6 or 8 shots. I've actually already done this several times, but I just wanted to show you the basic procedure. And what I've got here from our good old friend Amazon is about a 5-foot long pipe brush. I'll put the link in the description below. And you're going to hit that first 90-degree turn here just shortly. There it is right there. You can feel it, but you want to be careful. You don't want to get this thing down in there and can't get it out. So this thing's kind of springy. That's the reason it's popping. All right, I've already been down in and out of there like 3 or 4 times. So all I'm getting out of this is basically clean, sudsy, super clean. So I'm going to go back through and do this up through the trunk again. And I'm going to call it good. I mean, there's not much else I can do. I actually shot some brake clean through there already, as you know. So at this point, I'm just waiting on my lubricant to come in. I bought the Mercedes lubricant that you use for the worm gear on the cable. So when that comes in, we'll be able to reinstall the cable and start to reinstall our sliding roof. Well, all right, folks, I think I'm going to call this part 3 in our sliding roof maintenance and repair video series. I'm waiting on a couple of items to come in the mail. And one is a Mercedes lubricant to lubricate the rails and the control cable. And I also got some synthetic stuff to go into the motor. We're just going to give both of those a try and just see how things work out. So one other thing that I noticed along the way, this felt railing right here, I'm dropping it in the car, it's rotten now. So this is a strip, and it's held in place, I believe, with these screws underneath, and there's a metal plate that kind of holds it up like that. This has to be replaced, really. I suppose I could do it at any time, but really, I think I'm going to go ahead and do it now while I've got everything taken apart. So, all right, folks, that's all for now. Appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new video, don't forget to click that little bell down below. You guys have a good one, and remember to enjoy driving your classic Mercedes in the sunshine.